Hi everyone, and welcome back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Today is a different episode. Today we're looking at the season 2 extras and my review on the whole of season 2. Um I didn't come prepared for notes. Maybe I should have. Um Basically what I was going to do for I hope you guys are doing well. I'm Big Frost. I always forget to introduce myself, which is a very bad habit in life and for you too. um so basically, I've kept a little count of the episodes of season 2, basically what they say. But not all of season 2 because I had this brilliant idea at episode 9 and 10. So before that, I don't know what the episodes are, except Halloween, because who doesn't remember Halloween? One of my favorites, that's for sure. So, I'm so sorry. This season, I think I liked it better than season 1. I really did. Why? It was more mature and it talked about a lot more big topics, a lot of mature topics and the plot, while still keeping the charm of like Monsters of the Week that I really love, and the funny and the banter and stuff like that. But it kept, and most of the episodes always had like a moral and something connecting to the main plot and main story, which is what made me love this season much more than season 1. Now my favorite episode was episode 19 with the what's it called again? You're only have eyes for me. I only have eyes for you. My bad. And then probably after that is Halloween. These are just like favorites. They're not the big ones necessarily, because the big ones are often really sad. Like the finale, I loved it. It was great. It was great. I was like, I didn't expect that at all. It was such a good written episode, but the way it made me feel afterwards, it's not like I'm basing this is a review that is very biased, okay, in advance. This is quoting, in fact, the things that I like, the things that I personally like, not necessarily like was it written good. I think almost all of these episodes were very good written episodes. Were they all favorites? No. Were they all super good in my opinion? No. Were they bad? Of course not. They were really good. Um, so this is a very biased review, okay? In advance. I'm just saying that, I'm putting it out there. This is very biased. Uh, so one of my favorites was definitely I Only Have Eyes for You, then Halloween, because I love those concepts so much. I love dimension travel, I love time travel, I love ghosts, and like the ghost that it managed to bring. Sorry if I sound a little sniffly. I'm still a little sick. When I said last time, oh, my voice is overused. No, I was sick. I was just beginning of a cold. Um, so yeah, those are my favorite episodes of all time. I'm looking at these. I'm not exactly sharing them in the way that I wrote them in French, first of all, and they're all mostly like what happened and what I liked about it. Um, oh my god, I really liked that. So I really like that Oz is a weird topic for me in the way that I really like him. Um, and that's the thing. Like, ever since Phases, it's like he disappeared. Like, he was there at the end. He was like there for Willow. It was so fucking cute. And he was there, but like, he wasn't really there. And I know he's not main cast, right? He's not like, I mean, I don't think he is, that he's not in the intro and stuff. I hope he becomes, because he's the best. And he's like, his attitude and his personality, I relate so much to. And like his like blank face statements, I really love Oz a fucking ton. I think he's one of my favorite characters ever. Xander, because I was speaking of like how that changed. Xander sure fell for me. because of the finale, because of mult- because of him not telling Buffy about them trying to do the ritual. That because like I get he doesn't want Angel back. I didn't really want him back because I was like complications. This is gonna arise complication if it's even if it's not this season. Um, but not telling her what was about to happen, not going like because of those. No, that's no. So I still like him as a character. Do I like him as much as I did in the beginning? No, not so much. Um, Hopefully he'll redeem himself. I've not seen season 3 yet. I mean, I want to say obviously, but you might be like, oh, she's already so far away. No, I haven't seen season 3 yet. So yeah, and then Willow, I love her character development. The way she's growing more confident, that she's coming like in kind of her witch powers. I don't think they're innate like Amy, but they're sorry, but they're certainly getting better. And it's like I love her confidence and all. She's taking her place in the show, right? She's not just this nerd that can hack things and make jokes and be socially awkward. She's taking her place, and I mean that's who she was before. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's always fun to see someone get out of their shell and just like become, a better version of themselves. Um, Cordelia, also, I hated her in a fond way. I was like, oh my freaking god! Every time she just annoyed the crap out of me, and she still does, but now it's like in a fun way. It's like, oh, Cordelia, she's funny and she's there for Xander, even if Xander's not always there for her. I mean, no, it's just he gives off the feeling that he's still in love with Buffy, or he even had a weird scene with Willow in the finale. That I don't know if it was romantic or not. I'm kind of bad at judging those sometimes. It's not really a secret, so I don't know why I'm whispering, but I'm telling you like that. So yeah, and anyways, Cordelia, I've liked her a lot more, especially since she's been with Xander and she's just kind of grown into the gang. And yeah, I really like her a lot. Giles kind of didn't really change for me. I mean, he's getting a lot better at the not putting every responsibility on Buffy. He's getting better at that, which is great. The mom finally found out, kicking out her. I mean, I know she regretted it. It was kind of like in the heat of the moment thing, but still, like you kicking her out, like because that's kind of one. I feel like if she hadn't said that, she might not have ran away. She might have just brooded in her room instead. Did you guys hear that? That was the wind. Like a leaf hitting my window. But yeah. So, I'm glad she knows. The fact that her knowing led to Buffy getting out, I didn't really like. Buffy. Just Buffy. She grew a lot as a character. Is more like, I think the end kind of cemented the fact that she's like, okay, I'm ready to sacrifice things, like people and things in my life, to the greater good, which is always a tricky thing, right? To save the world, but there's always kind of a limit towards these things. So I don't wonder how they're gonna do it, because there's doing things for the greater good and then being so firm in your belief that you are right in that it becomes not good, like Dumbledore and Harry Potter. Because every time I say greater good, it just reminds me of that he was so right. Like, then and he put Harry in with the Dursleys and stuff. Anyways, I'm not gonna go into that because it's not what we're going for. But like, it can happen sometimes in shows where superheroes are just become so full of themselves. I'm not saying Buffy's gonna become that, but it's a risk, right? That heroes get so full of themselves because like I save everybody, and I have the moral code, and because I save all those people, and because I have something that I think is the right moral code, I am right all the time. Which is something that happens sometimes and is very annoying. It's like, no. So I hope that sort of thing doesn't happen, because, I mean, she did collab with Spike, but it's more along the lines of like, now she's like, okay, I have to do this all alone now, and she went off to be all alone, and she just kind of left and be like, I'm high and mighty because I'm the Slayer, and therefore I know everything, and therefore I don't need anybody. And that's kind of also martyr talk, which is always annoying. In every scenario, that shit is so fucking annoying. So I hope it doesn't come to that. It happens, especially with these long shows, that it's like they say, oh, but the means justify the end, and sometimes it really doesn't, but they only see it in their way, and then they have no other option or way of seeing things, and that's something that sucks. So I hope it doesn't happen, but yeah. I'm looking at the descriptions. Surprise innocence, that episode. Yeah, no, that was kind of like what cemented this season, the theme of this season, what the theme of this season was gonna be, kind of like what she's willing to sacrifice, what she's willing to do, and this ties in with the kind of fear of becoming this person that is so self-righteous, that is so, oh, I must do this, and also sometimes, because these types of things where the main character is either in a prophecy, is in a role that they only can do, and they feels very lonely and alone, and it's like, oh, only you can save the world, only you can do this, and so they get into their heads a lot. So sometimes they do dumb shit because of their emotions, which is fair, but when they're dealing with supernatural creatures and the fate of the world, sometimes like, can we stop and think about this, please? You know what I'm saying? So it can become a bit strange, in not as nice in a way. So yeah, I love this season. I'm just more like projecting what could have, I mean, there's 5 seasons left. There's a lot. We have a lot of freaking time for these things to happen. It's a lot of content that they have to milk also. I don't know, because sometimes in this series it's so popular that then they have, okay, we have to make more seasons, and then it just kind of like, they're just kind of doing the same stuff, right? They're milking the same stuff, and you're like, but can we move on? Please, can we move on? Right? Can another villain, something else, like, I don't know who is gonna be the villain. Angel is gonna come back, that's for sure. Like, I know that towards the end, especially after Jenny's death, I was really like, I don't want Angel to come back, and I still kind of don't, but I regret how it happened, right? I wish that she could have, because I hadn't realized that it needed Angel's blood to close it as well. So I just, in my head, if there was my beloved in front of me, and I had to take their blood, and I'd be like, hi, give me your hand, choo choo, pew. Why didn't she do that? Maybe she didn't think of it, and she was just like stuck in a dramatic moment. It's probably just because, for the sake of the plot. Is that a bit dumb to me? Yes. Seriously, just nick him. Does it need to go through the heart of someone? I don't think so. Also, was it ever explained why it's Angel? Was it? Explain why Angel is the one that needs. If it was, I'm so sorry, I missed it. If it, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so but because of how it ended and how he was so like, oh Buffy, I love you and stuff, and he was obviously heartbroken over it, and I'm so fucking sad because he's gonna be like, Buffy betrayed me, basically, and he's gonna go into hell slash the gargoyle demon thing dimension, and so he's not gonna exactly get good influence and good emotional stability and maturity. So yeah, I don't know what to expect, honestly. I feel like he's gonna come back because the way that he disappeared, there's no way he ain't. This season, I don't think so. I think it might be like a cliffhanger for the end of season 3 or something like this. But like for him to come back, season 3 feels a bit tedious and done and bleh. So yeah, also with the fact that Angel starts at the same time as season 4, but those are details. So yeah, I really, really, really loved this season. I really loved it, a whole freaking lot. I loved most of the episodes. Some were weird, like Bad Eggs was a bit weird. The Ted episode was great because it showed like Buffy's morality. Then introducing Kendra and then killing her at the end kind of is a fucked up move. It's like, hi, here's Kendra for like 12 episodes. About me for like the plot line of 12 episodes, and she gone. Like, was there a reason to kill her except for just being like, don't forget, we can kill people? So yeah. I'm not like super mad about her death in the way that it like they had to kill someone. If it's Kendra, I don't really care. I don't. Not that I don't care. I don't really mind. Like if it was one of the main crew, but Kendra was alive, I would be like, bro, what? You know. So yeah, I really love this season. I'm hopeful for the season 3. I'm in terms of like good stuff and positiveness, but I don't know. It's gonna be rough the first episodes, I think. Oh, I was about to say I think the first episode of season 3 is together, but no, they are not. First episode is a standalone. Oh my god, I have so many tabs open. What the fuck? Sorry. What is this? Oh. So yeah. I don't know what to expect really. I'm happy. But yeah. Okay, hi everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today we're watching the Buffy extras. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna look at some interviews of the actors and we're gonna actually see all of them, I hope, talking. So that's gonna be fun. So let's get into it. Let's go.
About 10 years ago, I had an idea for a movie. I'd seen a lot of horror movies, which I love very much.
This is so blurry.
Blonde girls getting themselves killed in dark alleys, and I just germinated this idea about how much I'd like to see a blonde girl go into a dark alley, get attacked by a big monster, and then kill it. And that was sort of the genesis for the idea of the movie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I worked on that for a while, and eventually it got made. Several years after, the people who owned the rights came to me and said, are you interested in making a series out of it? And
it was years later.
An idea for a movie. I wasn't really sure if there was a whole series there just about this girl going and killing vampires. So I started to think about it, and I came up with the notion of playing all sorts of horror movies in high school and making them really metaphors for just how frightening and horrible high school is. My original script for the movie was kind of dark and scary, and it was comedic, but the final product was much more just a broad comedy. With the show, I kind of wanted to get back to the roots of genuine horror, but with a lot of comedy and a lot of edge and a lot of sort of, self-reflective examination of horror, but at the same time make it genuinely creepy and hopefully genuinely moving.
It is.
Sunnydale is every town America, basically, and really every town in the world.
I get
We
it that
took
it's like a lot of people have said that to me as well, that it's a metaphor for high school being a literal hell. Um, which I think is a lot of. It's true, and also, I mean, to me, high school was okay. It had its bad parts, it had its good parts. It wasn't really hell for me. So to that part of the metaphor, I don't. I can understand why people I have friends that really hated high school and really really hated the system about that. Of course, this is in Canada, not in America. But it's relatively similar. I think a lot of things are similar except the age gap, the age groups, I mean. Um, but I feel like saying like the whole thing is a metaphor for high school being hell. I don't. I mean, like the thing with Angel and I mean, I guess you could tie it to sacrifices, but I feel like some episodes don't necessarily tie in with because even if it's a metaphor for high school being hell, it still has its own plot that it can't just be a whole metaphor, you know? It's
We
going to be
chose a
interesting.
bright, sunny,
But
sunshiny California
I guess
town.
that's how you make it so relatable, and especially as she's in high school and she's experiencing it, but with the metaphor. So I like it.
Is that sort of contrasts with what we expect, where we expect to see horror. But basically, it's supposed to be any high school, your high school, my high school, anywhere where boys and girls are going through their adolescence and torturing each other because of it. Ostensibly,
Fair.
in the narrative, we put the town on a hellmouth, which means that it's a sort of center of mystical energy, and every sort of monster and creature
Is
and
attracted to it.
spell and bad thing
Why
that
am I
can happen
responding
from
to the
the
guy who
underworld is sort
created
of
this?
drawn there, and that's our excuse for, all these monsters that keep cropping up. But really, anybody who's ever been to high school knows that they're just there. Well, we had certain rules about making vampires that we imposed on ourselves.
I love that he's in the
I
library of the
wanted them
set.
to look monstrous, so that when Buffy killed them, we didn't feel this was a girl just killing people. I felt uncomfortable with that. I wanted to say, these are demons. At the same time,
That's
we
why
want them to look normal, so you can wonder, is that guy a vampire? So we could hide the truth about Angel. So we, had the idea, and this has been done before, we're not the first to use it, that when they feed or when they get very emotional, their demon faces sort of come out. And as far as the character, Buffy has to fight every kind of demon that we can come
We'll
up
never
with.
know.
Frankensteins, robots, demons.
Yeah, it's
with
anything at
horns,
this point.
a ventriloquist's dummy, and any horror movie that we loved, we want to throw in there. Buffy was an incredibly difficult part to cast because you really need a character actress in the body of a leading lady, and that's harder to find than you might expect. Sarah came in. She was beautiful. She was accomplished. She actually had taken some Taekwondo, which didn't hurt.
Oh,
but,
okay.
but the most
That
important
helps,
thing
yeah.
is she found the humor in it. She was very light and very engaging.
Which is
and
important for
very funny, But at
Buffy.
the same time, she brought a lot of intelligence to it, which is something Buffy needs. If she's just a bimbo, eventually you lose interest. But Sarah could be as quirky and silly as Buffy needs to be, but at the same time
Serious
bring real
and
depth and
yeah.
intelligence.
That's true. It's a hard balance and
Buffy
something I
would-
was quite afraid of. When people were speaking of like, oh, Buffy gaining to be more serious and like it gets more serious in the second half of season 2, and it does. But I was very afraid that it would lose its kind of funniness. And when these shows, when these books continue, I'm saying books because I read a lot of books. A lot of times, what happens is that the character gets more and more traumatized, and then as a natural way of going at it, the main character, they kind of like lose that comedic because they're too scared, they're too traumatized, they're too stressed, or they've become hidden behind a stone wall, a stone wall, their heart and stuff. So there's not as funny, and it's natural. It's anybody who go through the trauma, especially when it's sci-fi, but not fantasy, but not necessarily of like having your life in danger and losing someone and like having to make these sacrifices yourself. They become a lot less funny and it's a lot more serious. And yes, it's natural, but when you go in a show and it's funny and then you lose it, it's I love the humor. I don't want to lose it because if it's just I don't really like shows about just seriousness. You know what I'm saying? Like Game of Thrones. It's too serious for me. It's too serious and drama and like I admit that it's a very great show, but to me I watch shows and I read just to get out of like kind of the seriousness to enjoy myself. So and that's for those people that for some people for most people Game of Thrones is a good way for their dad, but to me it's too serious. It's not that bad. Like I mean, I'm not hating on the show, but like if I have to compare it to Buffy in terms of comedy, very different. You know, it's Buffy is very serious, but it has its light air and it's still comedic, which gives you room to breathe, sort of, and kind of. Well, when it's just like dark and I don't really have an example right now, but when it's like dark and grimy and it's just like there's nothing good. It's just like it's hopeless. And even if the writing is beautiful, to me, I'm gonna lose interest. Like I don't want this angst taken to the extreme. No thanks, you know. So I was quite scared when people were saying that. Like it's gonna get serious. Like I know I don't want the show to become just like a bunch of darkness and sadness and like trauma dump, which is good, but like bleh. So I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad they were looking for someone to be funny as well.
Buffy was always intended to be a role model. And, you know, we're not out to confront issues. We're not out to, you know, to lecture people. But it was very important to me that Buffy be the kind of girl girls could look up to and relate to and show not only a hero, but how difficult it is to be a hero.
Yeah, that showed. It showed us. Yeah.
Buffyism is basically just an odd way of speaking. People often quote the sort of things that people say, but we don't have a lot of phrases that we like to use. Basically, it's not about creating a word that all the kids are going to go out and say. It's more about just sort of twisting the English language until it cries out in pain.
Okay.
I love language, and I love playing with the way people talk and their cadences, and, you know, the thing about trying to create hip, fresh teen speak is that by the time you get it on the air, it's over.
Yeah.
You can't say what the teens are saying because they're not saying it anymore. And, you know, the, you know, 40,000 sitcoms of guys going, well, that's whack. And, you know, for 3 years after people had stopped saying it, were just embarrassing. So I knew when I wrote the movie, I tried to listen to teenagers to see what they talk like, and they all talked like Heathers. So that was useless to me, so I said, oh, I'll just create a way of speaking. And if it catches on, then it will be what teens are saying.
I guess.
Well, Angel started out as a potential love interest, but quite frankly, we had no idea. Would he work?
Oh, really?
Would he be any good?
Damn.
You know, David was an unknown, and
With
we didn't
him
know
being
if people would
such a
respond to
deep
the
character.
relationship. Of course, they did, and Buffy and Angel are a great romance. Well, yes.
A lot of this, by the way, this is my mod edited this. Thank you so much. So when there's cuts like this, it's to avoid me having a spoiler. Probably. I don't know exactly, but I think that's it.
Loser in high school, and
or something uninteresting.
This school
to me
is based largely on my high school experience
for content
and
as well.
The experiences of other writers who work on the show. I attended a school, you know, in New York for several years, Riverdale.
I thought he was just saying I attended a school. No shit.
And much anxiety, and that finds its way in the series. I actually finished high school in England at a all-male boarding school.
Oh, really?
I play Buffy Summers,
Hi.
who is the chosen one, and to every generation is born one
And
whose
to have
job is to fight the evil, not just vampires, any underground evil.
It's the first time I've seen her talk, not in character, like the actress.
And a Slayer is the person that is born to fight this. You are chosen. There can only be one Slayer at a time. Every time a Slayer dies, a new one is called. Usually you discover it when they come and find you. In Buffy's case, she was in her high school in Los Angeles, a sort of vapid and vacuous valley girl. And one day her watcher showed up and said, you are the chosen one. And from then on, it's been her job. Sunnydale is a town in Southern California, sort of unspecified as to exactly where it is. We assume it's south of Los Angeles. And Sunnydale happens to be built on a hellmouth, which is a portal of evil. So evil demons, they all seem to gravitate towards Sunnydale because of this hellmouth. Giles is Buffy's watcher. Buffy had a watcher before Giles, who we don't talk about much. Giles and Buffy have a sort of antagonistic relationship. He's very stuffy British, and she's still part Valley Girl, so a lot of it is conflict, but he loves her like a father loves a child. So there are emotions that are crossed there. Well, I think like every teenager Buffy's torn, there's a point in your life when you're not a child anymore, but you're not an adult. And there are decisions to be made that people don't want to help you with, and it's a very, very difficult time. And there's Buffy just trying to deal with the problems of adolescence, of dating, of parenting, of, you know, learning when to cross the line, when not to. At the same time, she has this adult job and adult responsibility. Well, as I've gotten older, so has Buffy. Obviously, aside from the physical and the hairdos changing and the hair colors. Buffy's matured through her experiences. She's seen a lot now. She's had her first love. She's had her first sexual experience. And she's gone through a lot of things with her friends. And like anybody, that changes you.
Yeah, it's not,
Joss has his own sort of language that's a little difficult for us mere mortals to understand. I grew up in New York. We didn't have Valley Girls. And a lot of times I should say constantly, I'm asking him, what does this mean? I'm not quite sure. There's a very funny story around here, and that revolves around the audition, where the first line is, "What's the sitch?" And there I go walking in, and my first, what does this mean? No idea it meant situation. Talk about blowing a job instantly.
At least you got
brilliant. I mean, the show is his baby. These ideas are all in his head, and it's wonderful to see him take them from up here, and most of the time able to explain them to us. The show is done with love, and that's the amazing thing, and it's not just Joss, it's everybody. It's every grip and electrician. And everybody loves the show. It's a very brutal show to make. The hours are horrible. The conditions are never wonderful. We work a lot of nights, a lot of smoke, a lot of fire. The show couldn't be done if everybody didn't love doing it and was proud of the work that they did.
Okay, I was like, wait, people don't like it?
That it
What are they
appeals
doing
to
it?
everybody. It's a show that adults can watch with their children. You know, young children just enjoy the monsters and the pretty people and the funny jokes. Older teenagers can relate to it, especially females. It's the first time in a long time. Now the trend is moving towards it. We're gravitating towards these strong female individuals that people can look up to.
Yes.
Buffy is not the smartest in
Especially
the
in the
school.
90s.
She's not the prettiest. She's not the most popular. She's
2000.
okay with who she is. And it's very important as a teenager that you have someone that you can look up to that's an individual.
Yeah,
Because as we
but
all know,
still
high school is not
a male-dominated
you
field.
follow the trends, and it's wonderful.
Like, in a lot of... Well, now I'm more talking about books and TV shows, and I'm talking about recent. In the 90s, obviously I wasn't born, and who wasn't watching English shows, so I don't really know. But when a girl is a main character, usually there's romance. When a guy is the main character, there is romance, but doesn't have to be. With female, it's kind of rare not to have romance with the character, which is a shame. I think it's not everything, but I'm saying in general. It sucks a little bit. And this is different in the movie industry a little bit, I think. Not sure, but I think it's better a little bit. But in books, I'm just looking at my bookshelves on the books that are there, and usually when there's a girl, she has a romance, and when the guy, there sometimes is, but there doesn't have to be. It's a lot more like, or when she's doing something that is, it's a big thing when a female is doing something that is traditionally male, which is like fighting, or like fighting evil, or doing a sport that is traditionally male. She usually, one, hates it, doesn't like the fighting. Two, is like, has a sexy outfit in some way. And I mean, there probably could be better arguments, but I'm just saying off the top of my head, I'm thinking of certain books. So that's also something that's different. But I think Buffy is sometimes, a lot of, these are like prejudices right now, but it's still a lot of role models and a lot of, like, especially in fantasy, because in non-fantasy, usually it's romance, that's there, or like autobiographies, or like recalling of like certain events or something. But like in fantasy, a lot of times it's nice to see there's a lot more main characters, even if it's a little bit. They have all the same. It's they have a lot of the same personality, you know. So it's getting a little bit. It gets a bit repetitive sometimes. Okay, I've like. I was gonna go on a rant about books, but this is what you're here for. But yeah, I think it's really cool that Buffy can be a main character, especially in she to be unshamedly who she is, like to be she's just not like, oh, I'm different than other girls, the typical thing. But she's like bubbly. She's like, I just want to be like other girls, and she is. She's not like apart from the slayering. I mean, because like she's not like a nerd that's always in books, or she doesn't have any friends, or because it's a lot of times that. But no, she's just like a normal girl, and I mean, it's not wrong to not have any friends. Of course, I don't have that many friends, but because like example in Twilight, she's just a new girl and she's like, oh, I'm different than anybody else, or like in these types of dystopian things, it's like, oh, kind of pick me, but not really. So to see just her being feminine and just being girly and still being a badass and a main character of a show is really cool. So yeah.
Learn that individuality is important. Early 20s, it's just a fun, campy show, and adults can watch it with their children and later talk about the messages that we incorporate. A lot of the metaphors that Joss uses relate to everybody. I mean, at some point in their life, everybody knows what it's like to feel invisible in school. The people don't notice you. Our girl just happens to actually turn invisible. Every day is a challenge on this show. Between sitting in makeup for all this time to get these bruises, to going from a happy scene to a crying scene, to it's 2 o'clock in the morning and we're still doing action work. It is a very difficult show to do.
Okay, yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, so my relationship with Buffy is the fact that, his name is Angel. He's a 242-year-old vampire with a conscience who has feelings for Buffy, who is a vampire slayer. And in the beginning of the whole episodes, the beginning of the season, she didn't know he was a vampire. And now found out, and so now that I am a vampire, there's that tension, that romantic heat that's between the two of us. Should she kill? Should she not kill? And she can't kill because I have feelings for her. And
I think this is
she knows I'm good.
Before season 2 or something.
I probably will turn bad. Yeah, they were basically pretty much in the 11th hour with the character, and they had looked for, all over the place for this guy. And at the time, I didn't have a manager, and I was walking my dog, and my manager saw me walking my dog. And he said, "This guy'd be great for the part. I know the casting director." So
that's it.
Stopped me
Damn.
and said, "I'd like to take you in for this part. Are you an actor?" "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah." And before I knew it, I was in reading for Buffy. Got the part. Wasn't even signed with my manager, and it's just snowballed from there.
Damn, that was just like pure chance.
Literally taken off from a 7 out of 12 in the first episode to being a series regular the second season and becoming part of the team. So it's been quite a ride. He's moving away from Sunnydale, and Joss has created his second series called Angel, which will take place in Los Angeles. And things I will miss the most about leading the show is working with Sarah. We've created a special bond between the two of us that is very unique and different. And she has the ability to transform herself very quickly, very professionally, and very openly, which makes it easier for another actor to kind of ride along
Get
with
into
her.
it, yeah.
She comforts you and gives you a sense of who you are as a person and not as an actor, which is, I feel, the best thing to have. She's a wonderful presence, and she's very strong in what she does. She exudes a lot of confidence, and it shows. And I'll miss that a lot. Yeah, the makeup process takes about an hour and 20 minutes. It's a piece that fits from here to here.
Oh, it's so long.
Todd McIntosh is wonderful.
So you just do nothing in the meantime,
he just blends it all in, so the final result's very sharp and clean, makes for a very scary vampire. It can be tedious, and taking it off is the worst part because you have to sit there and you want to just rip the damn thing off, but you can't because you'll take a piece of your skin with you, so it has to be
really?
removed,
Oh, goddamn.
very delicately to take that off. And but the end result is great. It's worth it.
definitely is worth it. It's a wide range, and that's one of the most surprising things about it, is the fact that they see Buffy the Vampire Slayer, think teenage, but you know what? Watch it and you'll be surprised, because the writing dictates the show and leads you on a ride that you'll
Yeah,
have a
it's
lot
not.
of fun
It's
with.
written like teenage, but isn't really teenage.
Well, I
Hello.
play Willow Rosenberg, and she's the computer genius of the show, I would say. And she's Buffy's best friend. And yeah, that's Willow. One element? Oh, wow. There's so many great elements of the show, but I really think that it's the writing. You know, there's such incredible scripts, and we're just so fortunate to be able to,
I love Willow so
get to
much.
act that stuff. So I would say that the best part of the show is definitely the writing. You know, because then we have so much less that we need to do. You know, you just sort of
That's
show
true.
up and know the lines, and it all clicks. Joss is just an incredible genius, and the way he
I didn't think she would
comes
talk
up
like
with
Willow
things, it's incredible.
for some
I
reason.
would love to just get around and explore inside his brain, but that's not possible because I've tried. He won't let me. He's like, "Get away from me." But yeah, he's just incredible, and he's just always on the ball, and always has millions of ideas floating. I think Willow's a good role model. She does
Yeah, she
extremely
really is.
well in school, which
She's
is
the
very
best.
important. And you know, and she's, I think, the most realistic character. You know, when you look at the kids in high school and stuff, it's just the mail that I receive is always talking about, you know, oh, I'm just like Willow, or my best friend is just like Willow.
Oh, that's nice.
So I know people out there can definitely relate to her, and you know, I just think that like Buffy is the girl everybody wants to be, but Willow is
Who they are.
what they are, you know, which is good. It's just she doesn't have superpowers.
Yeah, that's true.
What qualities does Buffy have that makes her a good role model? Well, you know, she's smart. She stands up for herself, and even if they play on the whole, you know, she doesn't do as well as she could in school. She does. She scored high on her SATs. So,
Even if she
and
thinks she
she's
doesn't,
just-
she does.
She's a great role model for girls because it
Because there's
shows
only
that,
only one
you
that's
know,
gonna have to redo high school.
that you can be strong and confident, and you know, and
Saying that
be
because you're always like,
independent. You
yes, a D.
don't have to just go with the flow in high school.
I play
Hi.
Xander Lavelle Harris. He's very deep. He's kind of like the spiritual advisor to everybody. No, kidding. I'm just a funny guy, you know, joke here, joke there. I'm like seasoning. I'm kissing more girls down, which is good. I'm more physically active, sexually, of course, but it's all very safe. And in terms of the physical
Weird
stuff,
times.
I guess I've just become more
Fighting?
brave. You know, before I would kind of squeal. Have you ever stuck a pig before? No? They squeal, man. And it's loud. First season, I was like, I would squeal like a stuck pig. Now I'm pretty much, I say, hey, don't do that, and then I'll run.
Since sentences are weird.
In my high school. It was tragic, too, and we had a mayor that would just try to hide it all. No, I wish it was like this. I didn't date in high school at all. And lines weren't written for me. I didn't go into a classroom knowing what was going to happen. You know what I mean? I wish I did. Now I go into a classroom knowing what's going to happen, like what my test is going to be. So, but no, I hated high school. With a passion, I hated high school. So it's nice to be able to relive it again. Oh, the Buffy. Oh, the Buffyism. What's the sitch? What's the 411?
I hadn't even really realized.
No, I don't. That's not a Buffyism. That's just normalism. They have this certain. Pretty much, they chop words in half. So that sentence would be they chop or ha. That would be a Buffyism.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Hello.
Buffy's watcher. The basic premise is that we have an American high school girl who
I love that
is
they're all
told,
narrating this show. Like, why do you
in her
think we're
teens
doing?
that she is the only woman, the only girl
I love this. The light.
in all the world of her generation who has been chosen to hunt and kill vampires.
Oh, sure.
And she's already had a bad experience with that. She's burnt a school gym down, and she's moved away from where she was in order to start life afresh and forget the fact that she's the chosen one. the
But it
slave.
didn't work.
And she pitches up at Sunnydale High School, where I'm waiting for her. I am her watcher, who is basically her mentor, the person who's been chosen to watch over her, to take care of her, to train her, to discipline her, to teach her. And she's not terribly happy with that. She really just wants to go out with boys, paint her fingernails, and go to the mall. It's, yeah, I mean, the reason he's British is because it provides a nice foil for Buffy's very American attitudes. And
He's still talking in British accent. I forgot for a second he wasn't.
So there's a total culture clash. I mean, she's talking in a language that my character doesn't understand, even though we speak the same language. We
speaking
don't
normally
speak the
right
same
now.
language.
So I thought
Normally,
he was saying he
Brits
wasn't.
out here get cast as either the bad guys or the complete fools. Giles is not a fool. He's
Yeah,
deeply
Oofer and
learned.
stuff. Oh,
And
he hasn't
one
been
of the choices
cast
I
yet,
made,
though.
at the beginning was that
Oh my god, I feel like I know the future. I guess I do. Because like, he hasn't been casted as Oofer yet. I know shit.
I've prepared for this for some time, and that there's a lot of theory gone into it, but that I've had absolutely no practical experience. So
Nothing.
when we actually
Nada.
first get into the fray, it's a bit of a shock, and there's a fair amount of ground to be had from that. It's the first time that anyone has proven that you can have real humour, wit, dry humour, and then at the same time have tragedy.
In a
real
show.
tragedy,
Yeah.
and thrills and horror. Normally, if comedy and horror go together, it's a spoof. That's the only way people really have ever dealt with it before. And Joss set out from the beginning to say you can have all the emotions, you can, and they are heightened by the existence of the other emotions.
Yeah, true.
She doesn't stop. I mean, thankfully she's young. So, yeah, she doesn't stop. She's in it 8 days out of 8 days. Very rarely is she not on set. She does a lot of the physical stuff. She does have a stunt double, but, thank God, to be honest. She'd be beaten to a pulp by now.
Yeah, okay, fair.
She's very nasty in the beginning, but as time goes on, she becomes more dimensional. There's some interaction going on with the other
at first she was
characters
just a mean
that
girl.
creates. There's always conflict between Cordelia and Buffy, which is always fun to watch. But then there's a romance involved, and so we get to see a softer side of Cordelia, which is nicer and surprisingly heroic at times, and she's, pretty darn interesting character, in my opinion. Through romance, Xander and Cordelia have a lot of sexual tension pent up since, I guess, we've known each other since we were kids in elementary school, and
I didn't know that.
opposites attract. So he's very tight with Willow and Buffy, which is, considered the Scooby Gang, and that was kind of my way in.
I mean, she was there before.
I think that, first of all, the show is
she
very...
became his girlfriend.
It's nice to look at. It's shot well. The cinematography is amazing. It's darker, so you're attracted to it immediately because it's different from anything else you might see on television, especially that's high school oriented.
Having 2023 perspective makes this sentence
There's
funny,
a
but
lot
true.
of appeal with watching someone such as Buffy, a young, pretty girl struggling, coping with situations as they're drawn. She feels different because she's a slayer. that's very compelling. So there's like a
Yeah,
drama
that's cool.
element.
Yeah.
There's a lot of humor and self-deprecation involved. Like the show makes fun of itself in a lot of ways. That's attractive. And special
Yeah.
effects and the fighting, you know, draws them in. And I don't know, it's just a great show. It's a very ambitious show. We try to tackle a lot of things in one show, and I think we're pretty successful at it. I don't think there's anything else really out on television that does all of those things, humor and
I don't
drama
think
and
so,
special effects.
but I
and
don't know, because I didn't even know
comedy.
this
It's
existed before.
It's great. She has a lot of strength in that department. Well, she's been doing it for many, many years, so she's a veteran. She's a consummate professional in regards of knowing where her marks, hitting her mark, knowing her light, knowing her lines. And she's skilled in the regard that if she needs to cry, like, she can do that. She's
That's
just
so cool.
she works a lot, and that's why. She's a talented, talented actress.
That's the one thing that we've been really conscious of, is maintaining the core of the character, which is an intelligent, inquisitive, and he keeps to himself. He doesn't say anything unless he's got something very specific to say, and whenever he talks, it's usually some grand observation involving everyone's perception of a certain situation instead of just his own. I like that a lot. People make the metaphorical comparison all the time. I didn't really have a horrific high school career, so I can't equate that to battling demons and monsters on the helmet.
Yeah.
But
Relatable.
some people apparently didn't get along with their teachers and other kids. I don't know. So the first
This
time
is what I
met this
meant. This is what I meant earlier. It's like, bro, I don't know.
audition, I was really excited by how much he cared about even the most periphery characters. He wanted everything to be very specific. He had a real vision for everything that was going on. I like that a lot. And that was one of the deciding factors for me wanting to be a regular on the show when they asked me, was I knew that the person whose vision this was going to stay on. He wasn't going to, like,
Kick you
take
in.
it and then leave it for other people to distribute. He's on the set all the time. He's very specific and nurturing to it, so that we all feel like an important
I
part.
really do hope he becomes a regular next season.
Well, at the end of the second season, it's quite
Hello. His interview was so
shock,
short.
to discover that my daughter's a vampire slayer. So this year, I'm really having to contend with that. You know, what it's like to have a daughter who has superpowers and, you know, worrying about her getting hurt and taking on the world. And at the same time, that point between parent and the teenager, how much of her life can I share? You know, how much do I need to stay out of the way? And that's one thing that's
It'd be
really
hard,
special
yeah.
about the show, too, is a lot of times the main writer or producer will start to kind of back off and turn the reins over to somebody else and move on to another project. And Joss is incredibly hands-on. I mean, he comes down and watches almost every rehearsal.
He doesn't, like, move on and leads you to it.
Is just really there to keep the thread and the through line and the continuity of the whole thing going.
Oh, it's over. I do hope you guys liked it. Oh my god, the shock of quality by seeing my face is... I was confused. I gotta admit, I was confused for a second. I was like, what is happening? So yeah. I'll see you in, like, a second. Bye.
Kind of variations of all the classic monsters. We had the Frankenstein, we had the werewolf, the mummy, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and we're trying to do the Buffy version of all these classic monsters.
This
Second
series.
season was really about playing the interpersonal relationships
So
of
this
the
is-
soap opera.
I didn't know what he
more
looked
than
like.
just the monster of the week. That's why we introduced villains who were a little bit younger and could really interact with ours.
Close your eyes.
Darla. I hadn't realized it was her.
Darla is the vampire who made Angel a vampire, so I view myself as his mother and lover all rolled into one. I come back in a flashback to reveal how I picked him
Because
up to
in
be-
the season 1, I didn't connect her at all because she was so meek. In season 2, she wasn't as meek. She was more, but like in season 1, she's like, oh master, and then she kind of sucked. So I did not connect them.
vampire. You know, Darla was looking for a playmate.
I always wanted to see the world, but
I could show you. things you've never seen, never even heard of.
Sounds exciting.
She really is like one of the worst demons
Yeah.
in killing. She loves to kill and she loves the hunt. She loves to drink blood and it's all very sexual to her. And she wanted somebody else that she could create to have fun with.
Do I sense a plan, darling? Share.
Angel kills her and comes back to the fold.
Angel. He was the most vicious creature I ever met. I miss him.
The Master was our big villain,
This
season 1, and our
Yeah.
first season was really 12 episodes. It was a half a season. We liked this idea that he lived in an underground church, and he was a vampire, but he was such an evil and such an aged vampire that he, in fact, looked more monstrous than the average vampire. It was very wonderful, and he had a nice way of moving. You know, he sort of glided through the rooms, and he had that terrible, ugly, you know, bald white face. And it was a wonderful actor, Mark Metcalf, whom I don't know if everybody remembers Niedermeyer from Animal House, but I did the minute his name came up for this part. And you know, a lot of our villains have a tremendous sense of humor, and that's important to us.
What do you think? 5.1?
If your villain isn't funny, eventually you're going to go, that's a guy in vampire makeup. If he doesn't have some self-deprecating or self-aware quality.
When we initially designed the Master, it was Joss's intention to make him more advanced than any of the other vampires would be. And that got us into this kind of mindset that somehow this vampirism in his mythology was some kind of disease that you progress into and you have different stages of. So we actually developed a series of drawings, I think 6 or 7 drawings that show the different differing degrees of vampirism. And as you turn more and more into a vampire, the features become more bat-like and more pronounced. And the Master so far has been the most advanced version of a vampire that we've done.
Oh, that's cool.
Shall come the anointed.
The Anointed
Yeah.
one, a little child, and he was introduced in an episode. It said that 1 will rise and 7 will fall, and so you were supposed to believe that there's one very big, hideous vampire was the Anointed one, and instead it was this little kid. And after the Master was gone, the Anointed one was sort of running things in the local hellmouth of Sunnydale. And when Spike came to town, they just hated him, because Spike wasn't one for all the big liturgy and religiosity of the whole vampire scene.
That's why I like Spike more.
Home sweet home.
And eventually he just threw the kid in a cage and strung him up into the sunlight and set him on fire.
From now on, we're going to have a little less ritual and a little more fun around here.
A slayer with family and friends. That sure as hell wasn't in the brochure.
You'll kill her. And then we'll
I
have
forgot
another
he said that.
celebration.
Yeah, a party.
Yeah, with streamers.
Spike and Drusilla, they were fashioned after Sid and Nancy, actually. That was our template for them. Punk, rebellious, snarly, bad attitude vampires. You know, just really developed into characters that we wanted to have around. And great fun to write for. Their language.
I mean, like this scene where she just licks his cheek. Oh, I'm sorry, but that must have been so hard not to break.
I'll give you a seed if you sing.
The bird's dead, Drew. You left it in a cage and you didn't feed it, and now it's all dead, just like the last one.
Drusilla was fun just because you could go really loopy and really kind of surreal, and Spike is fun just because he's got such a wicked sense of humor.
Well,
This is Halloween.
neat.
Spike, he worked on so many levels. Every time he had a scene with someone, they were brought up to a new level, and they were like, when do I get another scene with Spike? Because
that's
you know,
so cool.
he has so much attitude, and as an actor, he's so giving, he really wants to get in there and work. Juliet is wonderful. I think the character of Drusilla, though, is so much in her own world that her interaction with other characters isn't the same as Spike's. He's constantly reacting to what's going around him, and in a way that nobody else on the show does.
I said, shut up!
If I kill you now, you go quick, and Drew hasn't got a chance.
Spike is a real, you know, rough and tumble guy. You know, he's a cockney, he's a street fighter.
So, who do you kill for fun around here?
Sometimes it feels like, man, I'm being
Oh,
written
hi.
so goofy. And we have to remind ourselves, no, that's
I forgot he's American.
Joss. Joss is a bit Jacobian in that way, in that people are lovable fools. Joss is more interested, it feels like, when people are fallible and funny and foolish and dear.
Sunnydale's cursed for us. Angel and the Slayer see to that.
I've got good games for everyone.
gave us a chance to see vampires who actually have affection for each other, who can really show the intricacies of vampire relationships, which are as complicated as human relationships.
Bit more, I feel like.
To eat something.
I'm not hungry. I miss Prague.
You nearly died in Prague.
James and Juliet played it so well and played each other so well that, you know, we kept that going throughout the season. They really clicked.
It was like sort of an actor's dream of playing with each other in the moment. And in the first episode when we're introduced and we come in, we just had this moment where
we did this thing. We were like this.
We were lingering,
We were like almost kissing.
And then we turned out.
Me and Drew, we're moving in.
Drusilla and Spike have been together for 120 years. And
Oh,
they have
really?
sustained a romantic love for that long. And
Angel
which is
comes
kind
in.
of inspiring, really. It is in the contrast between the fact that they don't have souls and they seem to be pure evil, and they also seem to have this incredible love that is even deeper than something we may be able to
Drusilla is like,
understand.
nope.
Now all we need is the full moon tonight, and he will die, and you will be fully restored. My black goddess.
They have a very, very rich romantic life. Probably a bit twisted sexual.
They had quite an arc planned for the character, and really did want these two characters, Spike and Drusilla, to be the sort of villains for that season.
Until Angel, yeah.
Happy birthday, Buffy.
I like to say she's touched.
Do you like daisies?
She is evil. She is diabolical. She is becomes
It's
strong.
kind of so
She
weird to
starts
see
out weak in
Drula's
terms of
face.
physically weak, but strong in terms of her desires.
Drew, save me some.
You know, there was sort of this drug analogy running throughout, and the nature of the relationship with Spike, which balances out all of these villainous things that we do.
Do you love my inside? The parts you can't see?
Eyeballs to entrails, my sweet.
And in season 2, you see both that love set up very clearly and then completely ripped apart by the end of it.
Yeah,
And,
they don't love each
so
other
you're
at all.
able to explore two characters who might have just been kind of Frankenstein villains and explore, God, revenge, betrayal.
They are palpable
Oh.
representations of the things that we face in everyday life.
Ooh.
You get the hell away from my daughter.
It's not enough to get your butt kicked by Buffy on the show, right? It's
Fighting
gotta be
his
your
mom.
mom that finally gives you the death blow. Yeah.
Royalty. That's one of my favorite moments.
Oh my god,
There's
it's
just
so
some sort of
freaking awkward.
chemistry between Joyce and Spike. They're supposedly so different, and yet somehow they really, those few times that they come together, really relate to one another.
Well, Spike maybe he just needs a mom. Maybe sometimes he just needs some chocolate milk and a little mom's love.
And
Hello, cutie. I believe Spike was supposed to be killed off.
oh really? No. That would have been sad.
We loved him far too much for that.
Don't worry, dear heart. I'll see that you get strong again.
Inca Mummy Girl.
Inca Mummy Girl was the first episode I did. Inca Mummy Girl, who's this beautiful
Oh,
woman
right,
who
this
kisses
guy.
people. When she kisses them, I believe she kills them and steals their souls. She's about to kiss me, and right before she kisses me, Xander yells something, and she spooks away, and I run off, realizing that perhaps something odd is going on. See, it's a tricky thing, because if she would have kissed me, I would have been killed, and I never would have been on the show again. However, this is a very attractive woman. So it could have been nice. I don't know. I guess it worked out best for me.
Oh yeah, that one was weird.
Just don't mind the phallic imagery, I guess I would say about Reptile Boy. You know, yes, it's a metaphor.
No woman speaks to him.
Oh.
You don't want her. Look at her. She's all skin and bones. Half an hour later, you'll be hungry.
Well, Reptile Boy was a show that I wrote and directed, but of course I broke the story with Joss. And he had a notion of we should do a frat house party episode. And we should, you know, be so bold as to have such a slim metaphor as to say these bad frat guys literally worship a giant snake that lives in their basement and gives them power and money and glory.
Reptile Boy was a great episode. God, it was hell. In that cave, because of the mold and all the stuff that went into making the set, which was phenomenal.
It was interesting to be locked up, chained up in a dungeon, but I'm glad those days are over.
Young men are the only way to go.
Cordelia has gone through this entire ordeal in which she
Oh yeah,
is
he
kidnapped
becomes
by
her
these
girl.
college guys, and so she decides at the end of the episode that she's going to date younger guys, and that's me, Jonathan. And I'm not the smoothest cat on the planet with her, on or off the set. I'm very just awkward.
Thank you, Jonathan. Did we forget something?
Cinnamon, chocolate, half calf, non-fat.
What?
Extra foam.
It was one of our first really big monsters, and Jeff Pruitt,
okay, yeah.
stunt guy, worked with John Volich.
So, I should have guessed. These are all the monsters from the... I can't really speak,
snake.
but I'm enjoying this. Oh, this guy. Ethan Rain.
Ethan Rain, an old friend, actually, of Giles's. Hello, Ethan. Hello, Ripper. Friend is maybe too strong a word, but they were friendly at one point. They created a cult
together,
that
yeah.
called up a demon that actually killed one of the group. And Giles, at that point, horrified, left and went back to being a watcher.
Something's coming, Buffy, and whatever it is, I can guarantee it's not good.
First of all, he opened up a side of Giles we had never seen.
Yeah, I know.
And second of all, he's sort of a great sort of utilitarian problem maker. When we want something to go wrong for no apparent reason, you have Ethan, and because he worships chaos.
You're dealing with something very dangerous.
But it will get Igon off my scent. The second episode I did, The Dark Ages, which actually followed up on the Cult of Aegon, which is this devil that Giles, Ripper as I call him, and I had conjured up many years before.
It's your time.
And I pulled the Aegon back into being, into this world.
Like a dumbass.
And he was chasing the rest of the cult.
I've been waiting a long time to do this.
The whole thought behind the Dark Age was really just when you try to cover up your past, when you try to run away from it, it's gonna blow up in your face.
Yeah, it's never.
It will impact the people around you.
It's
and
not
that's
gonna
why
work.
We took a demon that would possess Jenny Calendar so that she would be physically corrupted by what Giles had done.
Was it good for you?
Yeah, that was the first.
In Halloween, I'm a costumier, or I'm pretending to be a costumier, and the costumes that people buy from me dictate the characters that they become. People like to be frightened. It jolts them out of their complacency.
You. That guy is so gross. Nope.
This very sort of plain and sweet-looking guy walks into a house, and we hear a blood-curdling scream is always, you know, the most fun, and then justified basically with, you know, him turning into a bunch of goopy worms, which is one of the nicer and grosser things we managed to do.
First,
Nicer?
I killed the neighbor, which is a great first impression. And then I'm watching Charisma through binoculars from this new house that I've taken over because I killed the neighbor. There are worms all over the place.
It's so
Clearly
gross.
I'm watching somebody, I'm going to be heading over there. I knock on Charisma's door and hold up my little makeup kit, my cosmetics kit, and talk about what I'm offering to sell.
I was wondering if I might interest you in some free samples?
Free?
I'm standing there, and I just instantly convert into worms and fall to the floor.
That's so
it's what
gross.
freaks out Charisma and Nikki. And then I reappear and reappear in the house.
He can turn to worms, then crawl under the door, and then rebuild himself and be, you know, in the worst place in front of you. That was really freaky, but I enjoyed it because Xander and Cordelia had a really nice moment where we're fighting, and there's so much sexual tension between the two of them that finally they just have at it.
Moron.
I hate you!
I hate you!
Yeah, that was so unexpected, but at the same time you could see it coming.
When I call your name. Buffy Summers?
Oh right, police officer person.
Patrice is, I think, one of the very few
human,
villains we've had who's armed.
She was some sort of creature, but dressed in a cop outfit. She sort of grabs me and puts me in a chokehold, and then
it's
throws
always
me down.
Jonathan.
It was all very physical, which was fun. And then at the end of the scene, I'm confused whether like everything just happened was for real. Was that a demonstration?
Oh my God, Ted.
Nice game of Parcheesi. You know, I wasn't a vampire. I was not a bloodsucker at all. I just wanted people to understand me.
Joss had a great idea for a show called Ted, a Buffy's mother's crazed psycho part robot serial killing boyfriend.
Do you want me to slap that smartass mouth of yours? Who's up for dessert? I made chocolate chip cookies.
Ted was
allowed John to sort of take his persona and just ossify it, crystallize it to the point where he was a joke, where he was like, you know, a father knows best kind of automaton.
It was crazy.
May I be excused?
You can go to your room, young lady. That's where you can go.
The first half, you think, hey, Buffy, just relax. Give the guy a break. He's almost too good to be true.
And
there's
he
something
is.
about Buffy that I think she sees her mom reacting to this guy in a different way, and it threatens her. But then there's just something about the guy. He's just too perfect.
And then she kills him. So I think maybe he never had a pulse.
We're able to get into the issue of what happens if Buffy kills a guy, you know, a human guy. And even though, you know, he had revealed himself to be genuinely creepy by that point, it was still a human. And so that was something new for her to go through.
What was he? A demon? A giant bug? Some kind of dark god with the secrets of Nouvelle Cuisine? I mean, we are talking creature feature here, right?
He was a person. And I killed him.
Don't say that.
Why not? Everyone else is.
To bring him back and show that he was in fact a murderous robot is just fun.
Just like, they could not have done it, but this is fun, so.
That wasn't plain fair, Missy. You're gonna find a hell of a day. Makes you feel like you're 18 again.
You must be that Slayer I've been hearing so
Oh
much
my
about.
God, these twins that we never saw again.
Pleased to meet you.
They had such a personality as well.
The Gorch brothers, Lyle and Hector Gorch, a couple of wacky vampire brothers out of Texas. And they were these nutty, you know, low-rent vampire brothers who lived in drains and ate rats.
Lyle and Hector actually kind of modeled after characters from the Wild Bunch.
She's so cute and little.
Ew.
Think we can keep her?
That's so gross. It's so gross.
Well, hello.
I had a dream about a high school class where they gave, you know, where they did basically the thing that happens in the episode. They gave out eggs for people for the kids to care for. And
That
they
was
turned
from
out
a
to be demons.
dream?
And I was pitching Joss a bunch of different ideas and finally said, I also just dreamt this thing that was really weird. And of course, that's the one that he thought was the most interesting.
The thing about Bad Eggs I loved was it took, you know, a high school thing, you have to take care of this egg, which is real, and made it hideous and monstrous, and the idea that the egg
So
was
gross.
evil and sucking out your brain while you were asleep at night.
And eventually the whole town is turned into zombies, and they're worshiping this huge mother. We call it a Bazoar, sort of the mother of all these horrible egg creatures that attach to your spine and make you do their will. And now Buffy, of course, was tough enough to defeat the creature.
So gross. So fucking gross. I think I haven't had the most jump scared than this episode. It was not great.
She has to go deep down into the bowels beneath the school and battle this Mother Bazoar and save everybody from their zombiness.
Mom?
Kill them.
And she was covered in blood and
It was
everything.
then I began to realize that Joss Whedon is crazy. He can do anything to make his show one of the really the best things on TV. And every week he raises the bar. And he tries to do something better and something more.
That was cool. I like this
Here
episode.
we have one of our, running characters, major characters, turning into a werewolf.
Willow, please. Get out of here.
It was a fun thing to do with the character, and I don't think we had any idea how much it would resonate later on in terms of theme. And, I did a couple of episodes in the next season where we continued to play with the idea of Oz being a werewolf and his relationship with
Oh, that's so cool. I
with
can't wait to see that.
Allison, with Willow.
I can't wait to see that. Because then after that, he was kind of gone.
A young man turning into werewolf is a very strong metaphor for sort of teenage sexuality and the kinds of things that are going on in puberty and all this kind of stuff, which has been explored in movies like I Was a Teenage Werewolf. And in fact, it turned out to be a really kind of fertile metaphor for the next couple seasons.
Okay. I'm not the best at metaphor. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I just don't.
I was looking for something that was just creepy on a childhood level, on a really resonant sort of stuck in your bed, pulling the
This
sheets
isn't
over your
creepy,
head
this is
kind of way.
horror for
I was
your
thinking of
child.
Grimm's fairy tales. I was thinking of, the old witch, the ogre, things like that.
Joss kind of went into his little bag of childhood horrors and said we should do an episode about sort of the boogeyman, the scary thing that only kids see.
So scary. And then he did that with his eyes, which I don't want to see again. Nope. Don't want to see it again.
Joss himself jotted down on paper. He designed that Kinderstadt. And again, it was a very frightening character. He almost seems to come out of your innermost dreams. He's not like, ooh, I'm a scary guy with big teeth, or I'm full of scales, or I'm dripping pus. He's just this guy in this black hat with this white face and the long nose. And, and
He's
also
just
the way
really
he moves
freaking
is
scary.
Very creepy.
There were so many allusions in the character. There's sort of a Freddy Krueger. There's sort of a Nosferatu.
Hmm.
You get a bunch of different monsters rolled into this.
Must be
new
hard
thing
for the
that
makeup
was created
department.
For the episode.
The idea of something who looks somewhat like an old man that preys on children is just scarier than, anything that burbles or squeaks, because what we really fear when we're little,
Is
age
things like that.
and the otherness of old people.
Diana, bring about this love.
I mean, she wasn't really a villain.
I'm sort of dabbling in witchcraft. I am casting spells on some of my teachers, so I don't really have to do some of my homework. And Xander catches me and then proceeds to blackmail me into casting a spell on Cordelia.
I want the Hellmouth to be working for me. You and me, Amy. We're gonna cast a little spell.
I want Cordelia to like me again. But I think what happened was that
Hi.
Cordelia, this spell kind of flip-flopped. Everyone loved me, but Cordelia hated me.
Well, Buffy also falls head over heels for Xander under the spell. And she and I have a head-to-head, and she challenges me for Xander.
The hair
so
flip
she
every
then
time.
punches me, and I turn her into a rat.
That was funny. Is this because of she was on another show or something?
God. But then later up, she comes up nudie.
I seem to be having a slight case of nudity here.
But you're not a rat. So call it an upside.
I love
I
him
got
so
changed
much.
into a rat, and I have been eating a lot of cheese ever since then.
Oops, sorry. That one was really freaking weird. I know if it was for steroids. Ah, la, la, la. Why?
Fish
We don't need to
was
see
our
that again.
Steroid episode, in the sense that the idea of athletes taking steroids and how it messes them up, and basically, it was what if steroids turned into a great big fish? We were playing on the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I know what it
We
is,
just
but I
took
haven't
a
seen
great
it.
old movie monster and had some fun with it.
Make them dark, make them wet. Wet is always scarier than dry.
Fair.
That sort of glistening, sort of ickiness to them that makes them genuinely like fish, which can be really creepy.
Buggy Men!
He's perfect, my darling.
This episode that brought
Just what I wanted.
Angel back. Well, no, he didn't, but
The judge was cool because he had a different power than a lot of our villains. He was able to burn the humanity out of people. If he touched you and you had humanity in you, it would burn you from the inside out. So sort of the threat there was the better the person you were, the more he could harm you.
The judge? He couldn't be killed, yes? An army was sent against him.
So weird seeing
Most of
him
them died.
friendly.
But finally they were able to dismember him, but not kill him.
Reassemble the judge?
Bring forth Armageddon.
The judge is going to try to end the world. And I think it's then that we find out that Spike doesn't really want the world to end.
Yeah.
Spike likes having Happy Meals walking around. He likes being able to take things when
That's
he
why I
wants
love
it,
him
'cause
so
he's
much.
at the top of the food chain.
You.
What's that, mate?
You two stink of humanity. You share affection and jealousy.
Yeah. What of it?
I love it. Yeah.
To remind you,
Like,
we're the ones
not
who
scared
brought you
at all.
Contact.
No. No.
The judge was a dinosaur, which went along with his rather reptilian features. A person who had been awakened from centuries
Oh my god,
of
hi.
entombment and pieced
So
back
bizarre.
together by Spike and his cohorts, and didn't really understand that technologically weapons had changed, and which led up to his very, very hysterical demise
Yeah,
when he
just
was looking at
a bazooka.
the rocket launcher that Sarah was holding. What's that do?
It does boom, basically. Oh, we're at the end. Oh my god, we're at the end. They didn't talk about Angel. Maybe he'll talk about it in another thing. Now, this is really interesting. I don't talk that much. But I think it's really cool. I'll see if I get copyrighted for this. Makeup, oh my
Most of the god.
Monsters, obviously it comes from our great makeup department, Todd McIntosh and John Volich.
That
Todd McIntosh
one
is
is-
the on-set guy, taking the pieces, applying them on set.
My half of the job is to take whatever it is and make it fly.
And John Volich is the guy who's actually building the monsters in his lair.
I think we managed to kind of elevate the stakes for television by trying to really get a motion picture level of quality.
This is as good as it gets in terms of prosthetics and latex.
Volich creates these extraordinary appliances, but Todd is there while he's making the actors
Which is
look
why it's the
beautiful.
90s, the end of
He's
90s.
making them look real.
I mean, for the time period, it's just because like cosmetics and special effects kind of really boomed a lot. So fast, really fast. So this, like, there's this. It's in 1997, and in like 2007, 2010, it's not the same thing at all. The effects are different. It's already better, but for the time, that's why I say for the time, because even if it's not that far away in terms of advancements, it's far away, Behind Buffy's makeup, maybe Sarah, maybe. Okay.
Todd has a real interest in
Hello.
this genre that and a passion for it that he brings that's really fun and exciting.
As a child, I was absolutely fascinated by Dark Shadows. What Dan Curtis created
Bro.
was a town
That was so sad.
and a family that you felt something about, and these strange things that happened to this family. It went out and grabbed you and pulled you in. Buffy
What is Dark
almost
Shadows?
the same thing. We have this little town, we have this group of friends in this world that you get involved in because what Joss created was a story about people, not about supernatural stuff. That's not where it started. It starts with the people. So you're
That's
drawn
always
in.
the most
Buffy
important.
is really, to me, exactly what I wanted to do. It's what caught my imagination as a 6-year-old, and here, 30 some odd years later, I'm back into that world, and I'm part of the creation of it.
Watching Todd McIntosh, our makeup artist, work, it's cool because you take it for granted, but it's such a machine, and he's so talented, with what he's doing, and he also just happens to do my beauty makeup.
Oh.
And I think I look fabulous.
They're fabulous.
We're sisters with really different hair.
Now, originally, I was instructed to make Buffy a soft and sort of earthy character. And we did a very soft, muted green makeup with a little eyeliner and just kept her very natural. Well, they came to me and said, it's not working. This isn't Buffy. We needed her to be Buffy. And I'm so glad they did, because that change was exactly what we needed. We needed the mall girl. We needed the valley girl.
I mean, in terms of makeup, I'm not very good. 1. 2, know nothing about it, so I was like, isn't this the whole thing?
So instantly I switched everything over to frosted eyeshadows, bright turquoise and aquamarines, and frosted lip colors, and bubblegum colored nails, and it blossomed the whole character. The hair department bleached her hair up, they went up to the blonde, and that was the creation of Buffy.
Angel's a vampire. I thought you knew.
Look, Buffy, you may be hot stuff when it comes to demonology or whatever, but when it comes
That was
to
so
demons,
stupid.
I'm the slayer.
Charisma's makeup was always about that character. You can't go anywhere with that. She is what she is.
Since my character was kind of like a Cruella de Vil, that it was important that I stayed dark, my hair stayed darker, and I remembered having highlights, and the network coming back and saying we'd prefer to keep her dark, because I think the kind of character she was. Well, were you feeling a little envious? You could belong to a fraternity of rich and powerful men in the bizarro world. Insensitive, kind of cruel person, so she would have.
And then she morphs into being funny and just tactless.
I think, also Buffy being blonde, that it was just important that there be a difference. And then the redhead, you know, it's always about getting the gamut of colors.
You're not going anywhere until we fail.
I was actually the test dummy, as I put it, for the vampire makeup.
Really?
And they established the vampire look on my face. And that's how I originally met the cast and crew, was in vampire face. Nobody had met me until they came out to do a camera test. So when they saw me at lunch, as normal, they didn't know who I was.
Oh, for real?
Darla, at the beginning of the show, it was a pretty grueling process because they were still establishing the look and playing around with colors.
I found, because I wanted to do monsters and I was forced into learning how to do beauty makeup, the more beauty I did, the better my monster makeup became. Because I understood the subtleties of skin tones and skin variations and how to shade and blend, which you have to learn for beauty makeup that you don't necessarily need for a monster.
I love this soft music while Buffy's being attacked.
How to structure a face so that it was unattractive, so that it was weird looking and made you feel something odd.
Yeah, his face
the better
was
my beauty makeup
fucked up.
became. The two are symbiotic. For Drusilla, for example, is a perfect character that is beautiful, has a beauty makeup, it's a very stylized one, set for her, and when she morphs into a vamp, it's still there.
Here you have this thing with this, you know, covering a lot of your face, and it could be really horrific, but it was able to sort of achieve this pretty and scary and eerie and creepy, still compelling where you're not, you know, off-put by it. He wanted to sort of
It's
slightly
still
sexy
weird.
and, you know, and I think he was able to capture that.
The idea
Sexy, I
of
wouldn't
her
say that
prosthetic
by your face,
was
but
to be a little bit different than the general ones that we have done. We wanted her beautiful, but dangerous. So it was sort of snake-like. There is a smoothness and roundness to the forehead that isn't in some of our other prosthetics, and we wanted that viper look. So her makeup
That was so fucking
adjust
weird.
a little bit.
That was so fucking
My
weird.
idea for her was always like a 1930s black and white movie star makeup, which we modernized as we went along.
My best advice to actors enduring makeup week after week is go to sleep in the chair. The makeup artist would prefer that you keep still, and you can take a nice little nap. It beats working. In general,
How long is
really
it?
enjoy being made up like that. As a boy, I think I never looked cooler. You never get a girlfriend to kiss me when I'm in that makeup, so it's a different thing for girls, but I guess, I don't know. But for me, I love it. I used to play around with makeup as a kid, so, you know, this is just hog heaven to me.
With the Spike character, when James came into the trailer and I'm making him up, and he says to me, oh, I've got a little bit of a scar there if you want to just fill in the eyebrow. I said, no. I got the razor out and I shaved his eyebrow out of that area and we painted the scar in and made it part of the character. We had already painted that scar in, When I made a call to Optic Nerve, have you sculpted his appliance yet?
I forgot he had this as well.
And we had a lot of discussion about what happens to the scar in the forehead when he morphs. Where does it go? And they actually lifted it up as if the skin stretched a little bit, so it's a little higher, a little bit more arced on the prosthetic than it is on his skin.
I wonder how long it
that
takes.
Was built out of one of those moments. My work
if it was already done, it's like, what?
When it comes to suits, like our werewolf suits and
that werewolf suit
in general, Optic Nerve.
That werewolf was great in the dark. As soon as it was like in the light and you could see it well, it was just kind of a weird furry cosplay.
Runs the suit.
No offense. It was good. It's just it took me aback, you know.
We do the makeup that blends them in.
Another somewhat elaborate character that we came up with, the Reptile Boy, that we did as a partial bodysuit from the waist up, and the rest of it is actually just plastic rings that have a latex texture on them. That we segmented kind of like those little toy snakes that you see that you can wiggle around. It's very similar to that, but done on a larger scale. And we just felt with the kind of movements that they were requiring for the scene,
this is such a strange
and be more flexible for the kind of action that they were looking for.
Episode as well.
Lots of people with ropes and pulleys and contraptions to get the snake to rise up and fall down.
It wasn't a person?
And then we had another version of the snake that floated on a little sort of a seesaw thing. So you got this eerie, you know,
I thought it was a person. No?
The rest of it was just a standard makeup like it would normally do, glued onto the face. And we tried to give it this...
Okay, yeah, there was someone.
Long mouth with a stretchy kind of membrane that you oftentimes see on snakes. You can see the little pink on either side of the mouth, where we actually just used an appliance to cover the actor's mouth to make it look like that webbing. We worked in conjunction with the physical effects department that did all the wire ringing. They had him on a brace that they had 2-3 guys pulling him back and forth and up and down, and they just kind of
sad that nowadays this kind of doesn't happen anymore.
The operation on the flying rigs. We worked
right?
in conjunction with
it's all like green screens and all that, which is a bit sad. I feel.
Of a monster, be it a demon or a vampire or some new scary
takes.
Kind of creation.
I mean, I'm not an actor, but I feel like when you have a set, you're more into it, right? Than just like you're just standing in a bunch of green screens. So like that sucks. That really sucks.
An idea will come from the writers, from Joss. He will write it into the script. I want a pale, veiny-looking demon.
We sort of come up with a general description most of the time of how a character looks. We'll just sort of say, he's a big guy with horns.
That concept, in a couple of sentences, goes to Optic Nerve.
When we get the script in. At that point, we might start to do some cursory designs. Generally, we'll do 2-3 different variations of what we kind of think the creature should be. Sometimes the characters will be very well described. Sometimes there won't be a description at all for it. Sometimes there'll be a description and I'll get thrown out somewhere through the process.
We know absolutely
you never know.
Nothing about what's coming up. It's all in that secret, locked away storage place of Joss's mind, and we get it as a surprise when it comes to us.
So there's somewhat of an evolution that we'll submit
kind of
designs.
a deadline as well.
Generally, one of them will be close to what they're looking for, and then we'll do some refinement on that and get it pinned down. And this process usually happens pretty quickly. Probably like 2 or 3 days, we'll get a good idea of what the design's going to be about.
This is so intense.
Once we have all that settled, then we start dealing with the actors and the performers that are going to be playing these characters, who we bring in for head casts.
So you start with the life cast, which is about an hour-long procedure. Some people are really claustrophobic, some aren't. Depends on the person.
Yeah.
Once the life cast is done, you have a 3-dimensional representation of the actor's face.
I don't know if I would like it.
You sculpt with clay the new shape that you want it to be. Make a negative mold on that. Out of that negative mold, you clean it out and put foam latex into it, which is a whipped foam process. That goes back into the mold. It's clamped very tight, put in the oven for about 5 hours. And what comes out is the foam rubber prosthetic that we apply.
Oh my god. I don't think I would like it that much. No.
The vampire makeups are very systematic. It starts with fitting the actor. We fit them for that first. Then we set the teeth up. If they have a custom set of teeth, that's fine. It's been built by Optic Nerve and it's sent for them.
If there's a featured character, we like to custom make teeth for each particular character.
Oh, really?
With a live cast of the performer, and we just sculpt in clay. Sometimes we'll use actual acrylic teeth as a part of the sculpture.
If I was an artist, I would love to work on sets like these.
How they wrap around their teeth and try to give them as much ability to pronounce words.
Uh-oh. This does not look good for our heroine.
Here is one of the silicone molds. After we do the sculpture, we'll generate a silicone mold.
That guy's just like, that girl is just like, let me fucking work.
And after she's done, we'll end up with a final product that looks something like this.
If they are background vampires or fighting vampires and they don't need to speak, then we have generic shells, which are the teeth on the outside with a little sort of cup.
I would want to put that.
Which we fill with acrylic relining material, put it in their mouth, it sets up around their teeth, and then about 6 minutes later you have a semi-custom set of teeth.
Oh,
the
so
problem with them is they're very bulky. Since they're built to fit almost anyone, the person can't really speak with them in, and they will distort the face a little bit. So we really try and do custom teeth whenever we can. When the actor sits in the chair for the makeup, it's very systematic. Clean the face, apply the glue, set the appliance down. I
didn't think it would be something like this.
Edges. So you've got this very, very fine, soft foam appliance, and it feathers out onto the skin. But even when you've got
I don't know what I thought it was, but not that.
Around it, where it blends with the skin. So edge blending is the next step, where we take different products, glues or latexes, and fill them in and do that final blend into the skin. Then comes the coloring, which may be 2 or 3 different layers of color. A foam appliance is a solid opaque piece. Human skin is translucent. So when you put an opaque covering on half of the face, and the other half of the face is just its normal translucency,
it's weird.
If you get the wrong light on it or the wrong set of colors, it will go gray. So what we try to do in the coloring is color the appliance red or blood tone or a mauve blusher tone, which is sort of a pinky red tone, and then put the colors of skin over top of it. So you were still reading red through layers of color to try and match them into the skin. And then detailing, things like veins and shadowing around the eyes and putting in beard shadow if you've covered over a man's beard and it's very white there, and then you suddenly see the beard shadow, you have to put that back in. All of those details are done.
Oh my God, that looks so good.
We currently go to airbrushing to do all of our shadows and highlights, and then take that down onto the neck and make sure the ears are done and the hands are done to match.
Damn.
And we added darkness around the eyes.
Like when you focus on it, it looks weird.
Just we had to.
Oh my God, they have mascara.
Without it, I found that the monsters were not looking mean anymore. We were getting that sort of animal feel that I was looking for, but they weren't supernatural.
You know, it's so great to walk into the trailer and, you know, say good morning to a couple of vampires and, walk past by some guy with one eye on his forehead.
That wasn't plain fair, Missy.
This is the positive from the makeup we did on John Ritter for the episode Ted, where he plays like an android.
How about a nice game of Parcheesi?
They just
the pan for the
this
win.
whole side of my face, except I did have false teeth, and I wore a different kind of a metallic deodorant, just, you know, to piss off Sarah.
This house is mine.
The technical creation of that part where his mouth is open is really, really hard. The dentures go from inside his
her
mouth
face
on one
was
side
my face.
to outside his mouth on the other side.
We had come up with this trick that we used on another film called Castle Freak, where we have this set of teeth that that on one part of the teeth, they'll go on the outside of the mouth, and then the other part, they actually fit inside the actor's mouth and go into it. So it's kind of hard to tell here, but on the positive, you can see where his lip actually slips here under this form here that was meant to take place of the teeth. Now this gives the actor mobility on this side of the face, where he can kind of can't quite talk, but at least give some expressions, but it looks like the face is eaten away on this side. Now, when John came in, he was really nervous about the cast. I think he either had gone through one before that wasn't really successful, or he had some qualms about it. But at the same time, he was an absolute trooper, and I explained to him how I wanted to avoid a cliche and do something kind of unique, and he seemed to appreciate that, and actually was willing to go the extra yard as far as all the discomfort that was involved in putting these pieces in. And,
yeah, that must not have been fun.
Went ahead and did that for us, which I thought was really good. It's always a sign of a true professional.
You're fitted with a rubber mask, and the dentist came out and knocked out my teeth and made fake ones for me. And I mean, it's just as, you know, as blue ribbon as you can get.
Yeah, that must have been really bizarre. La, 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 la. Okay, that's fine. But the ripping of the skin is not as fun.
Of the second season, Fish Guys, which would be our version of the creature from the Black Lagoon. And we ended up making these suits that were really tight and form-fitting, and I think we kind of avoided a common look in suits where it's this kind of bulkiness where it looks like someone's wearing a rubber suit, and they were done so tightly on skinny guys that they looked very natural, and I thought those worked pretty successfully. Those suits needed to work in the water, in a swimming pool and on the ocean, And we had to engineer them in such a way that they would hold up under these kind of conditions. And
That must be
it seemed like
hard.
they held up pretty good.
Nope, nope, nope. Still no.
That peel, that was an appliance put over an appliance. So there was levels there.
Okay.
So we glued the fish piece onto his skin first, and that's all completely painted like the fish. Then put separator, which I think was KY jelly at that instance, with a little bit of blood in it, and then glued an entirely new appliance over top of that, which
Damn.
was already scored inside, so that when he went like this, we knew where it was going to tear.
Buggy! Hello! This is very
Generally,
interesting.
what we try to do is we'll try to do the appliances in
There's so
two
much
pieces
information
'cause
coming
it's
at me
easier
that I
for
don't really have
application
to
purposes.
time to
Well, the back
react.
of the
But
head, it's either like a bald cap or oftentimes it's like a cowl, almost like
There
a
you
scuba
have
diving
down
cowl,
his
where just
face.
the face pops through it, and then this goes on top of it like that.
oh yeah, it does.
And it's just easier to glue, to glue the nose and the cheeks and everything if you have access to it, as opposed to a mask that's all one piece, where you really don't have access to get the paintbrush in and glue it on. So it makes for an easier application and also gives the performer more expressiveness because it's attached to more areas.
It
of the
looked
face
very
than the mask would.
natural.
No weapon forged can stop me. You have to crank up the volume knob on your face. Not just the volume knob, but the visual to keep that rubber moving. Because after a while, you don't want to move your face anymore. And it starts to hurt because the appliance cannot be glued on
No?
with equal tension everywhere. So, there's
Oh,
a little
okay.
piece over here and they pull a little piece over here. Like it's sometimes very much a problem. If they pull it up too much, you can't really blink properly and your eyes dry out. Or if they
Oh,
pull it down
no.
too much, then you can't get your eyes open to even see. Actors hate having their eyes covered up.
The character of the judge is obviously the most extreme makeup in that show. The two parts,
Fair.
surprise and innocence. There were vampires
I
in
would have
full
thought
close-up.
was
There
the fish.
Drusilla in full beauty makeup. There were masses of vampires. There was the burn makeup on Spike, where his face is all scarred up on the side, plus the judge. There was so much happening in that episode, we actually referred to the judge as the Smurf, because that blue shade, it was actually rather
Yeah.
interesting. It was sort of a sky blue with a white modeling into it. It was an interesting character. And I believe that's also one of the few actors who's played two roles on our show. That was Brian Thompson playing Luke,
Oh, right,
as well
that's
as
true.
the judge.
Okay.
I've found over the years that people just like gluing stuff to my face.
You
I'm
just
not
have
sure
a
what that
gluable
is.
face.
I wish they didn't. But it's okay.
Second
But
Emmy
it's
for this
okay.
year for Buffy. The first Emmy for Buffy and the second one for our company.
I don't think there's an episode we did that Todd and those guys shouldn't have gotten an Emmy for. I think it was a body of work kind of thing.
It was quite an honor, and I must say I've been very, very proud of our show. A lot of shows, especially like ours, that have a small following at the beginning and then only grow later, don't get recognized right away by things like the Academy. And we were nominated the very first year we were on the air.
That's so
which was
cool.
wonderful. We didn't win that year, but we were nominated again the second year, and we did win. So that was the one
Deserved.
great thing about that year is we walked away with a lovely little golden statue.
That's designing Buffy. I'm so good at this. I'm so good at predicting shit.
The show has a scope and a kind of a cinematic quality. It's just really creative.
Production designing is great because it changes each year. It's like you think that it can't get any better, and then it does.
It's a great show for a designer because you've got lots of different worlds to create. It is science fiction, but it's also very reality-based, and you've got lots of characters who just are in a very real world.
It just has a very
And Come On,
interesting
Be Girl
mix
feels
of
so
this
far
fresh
away.
California feel and old B-movie scary things that I think gives it a really neat texture and really neat look. Something that's a little bit off from your everyday horror anthology show.
That's so cool.
These flowers are wrong. They're all wrong. I can't abide them.
Let's try something different with the flowers then.
We had Steve
Just
Harvey
like-
doing the sets for the first season.
Let's
and he
just
did a
do
wonderful
something
job.
different.
And Carrie had been working with him, and so when Steve moved on, we just bumped Carrie up, and then Carrie
Oh.
just blew us all away with every design.
You just sit down and you take a script and you read it, and an idea comes into your head of what that space is going to be like for a particular
It was
scene.
very good
When I came in
sets.
second season, I sat down and figured out a big factory for Spike and Drusilla to inhabit.
Me and Drew.
Moving in.
Joss had come to me and said he was thinking about placing them in some sort of factory kind of industrial space. Vampires living underground, living in, you know, sort of decrepit areas, places that felt abandoned. And so I generated a sketch of a factory.
That's so good.
It really sort of got me the job.
The library was very important. It was sort of the hub where so much of the research and just the life of these kids.
I remember that scene. Fuck off.
It was quite a beautiful space. It had a lot of wood and had a huge skylight atop it, and it had beautiful windowed offices for Giles. It almost felt a little English. Giles would be in there drinking his tea at times. And of course, no student except our kids ever entered the library. So this was always a running gag. Like, and if, in fact, on the rare occasion someone came in there to get a book, they would look at them askance.
Excuse me, but have you ever heard of knocking? We're supposed to get some books.
Jonathan, oh my god.
Yes, third row, historical biographies.
We work in a, you know, not a real stage. It's a big old series of warehouses that are all one big building that we've divided up into 3 different stages. They've got very low ceilings. They're pitched everywhere with steel columns. And so for that factory set, I essentially took the structure of the stage and used it.
Okay,
and
kept
let the
it
ceiling
as...
of the stage be the ceiling of that factory. And I used a lot of the structure of the stage as the set and just sort of walled it off.
The way that the show is shot, and that with the vampires in our world, that there's a certain texture and depth and darkness. Everything had that feel to it. Our sort of bedroom set has this cave-like feeling, and then we ended up moving into this mansion that had a much more sort of modern, sterile look to it.
We built a mansion for Angel, which was a nice set, and had a sort of an outdoor garden, but it was kept in the shade.
We wanted to sort of stay away
and
from
it was
Gothic
also
architecture and Gothic themes.
ugly.
Joss just didn't want to keep going there as such a sort of stereotypical vampire mode. And one of the major concepts of the show is that these vampires sort of have to live in a dark world, you know, not just theoretically, but actually physically. Lots of times we'll have them in an above-ground space, like the mansion, but typically they're sort of in the sewers underneath Sunnydale, or like in first season, the master vampire, first nemesis of the series, lived in an underground church.
It was an idea of Joss's that there had been a terrible demonic force. The master tried to escape from hell and had been sucked, you know, down into hell, and was actually trapped in this church, which was a constant source of pain, of course, to him being a vampire. And that was a neat set that you could get through the tunnels, and you could walk down through the rubble.
Not only was the church underground, but we had sewers connected to it that sort of fell into this bowel of the church.
And she drowned. It was
and
hilarious.
That whole theme and concept of the vampires.
I mean, it was not hilarious at the time, but when you look back.
Around Sunnydale.
Oh no, I forgot to lower the volume.
The set, the wardrobe, the makeup, and everything that goes into portraying a character or being in a mood makes an impact on you. It makes it that much more believable.
We come before you with fresh offerings.
Offerings?
Yeah,
the series was set up so we had the underground world. It was really dark and heavy.
Who is breathing?
Concrete. And then you sort of had the above ground world, which was much lighter mood. You know, the colors were softer and more pastel. And
Joss had this idea about Sunnydale, a very sunny all-American town. We scouted a lot of, you know, various locations here in town that we felt would match that. People will note that the high school is, in fact, the same high school they shot Beverly Hills 90210 at, and it's a very kind of classic upper middle to middle class Southern California look. And the way that translated into the sets and the design of the show was we wanted Buffy in a craftsman house.
It's been really great to watch the house grow. You know, in season 1 when we were just starting, initially we used the house in Torrance, so we shot in the actual house that it is, and then slowly, bit by bit, as the show became successful, and they reconstructed the house. Of course, the second floor was always here at the studio, but initially that was just Buffy's bedroom. And then gradually the downstairs part of the house came together here at the stage, and even the front porch for entrances and exits. But it's really interesting because you have a sense of the house from Torrance in the first season, and sometimes we still do exteriors there. And then the house here. So it's really interesting that it's a home that sort of exists in two
different places.
It's old and it has a lot of character. Gosh, it's hard to imagine it being anything else, particularly with, you know, demons, some of whom are thousands of years old visiting it. It should at least be a craftsman, right? Can't imagine it as some modern box. But it has a lot of character and I think a really good feeling. It's really homey.
And essentially, we took the exterior that we'd picked in first season and designed an interior that just completely matched it. Here we are at Buffy's exterior of her house, and if you come around the corner, 1630, Buffy's house. You're in the front foyer. Of course, most of this set wilds away just like any other set. The staircase is actually on.
Oh look, you can
on
see
wheels.
you can see the like plafond. Voyons, c'est quoi en anglais? I just have floor. Ceiling. You can see the ceiling of the warehouse. That is not like the actual house.
Could, if we need to, take the whole staircase out and film a scene back into the living room or out the front door looking at the translite, or, you know, back into the dining room around the corner.
That's so cool.
But if you come this way, you're into the living room.
Yep.
Mom?
Right, it cuts right there.
This
Okay.
has gone through several modifications, new floors, a couple new doors here and there. These doors right behind you have gone through many breakaway versions.
I mean, yeah, if there's there are not that many fights in the house,
like
but
a large donut. You keep coming around the corner. You can come right through the back hall. You're right into the kitchen. So you're in the kitchen here. Of course, this is on wheels.
ooh,
As is all these exterior walls.
Really?
They're all on wheels. This whole outside of the set can just go away quite quickly.
Huh.
We can shoot back into the set whenever we need to. So coming out of the kitchen, we're into the dining room here. And
it's the one. Yeah,
sort of a
I
very
think it's the only time we
stereotypical
see it.
craftsman bungalow dining room. Got a high wainscoting. This is where you place a picture just like this, or a plate sometimes. Some nice furniture here. This is kind of interesting. This backsplash used to be mirror. Of
Oh.
course, that's difficult for the camera.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we've covered it up with what looks like some nice prairie-style tile, but it's really just foam core.
Painted, yeah.
Color print on it, and then scored to look like tile. And then back out of the dining room and into the foyer, and then we're out of the set. Here we are in Buffy's upstairs hallway. Over here's the stairs down.
Ooh.
There's the bathroom. And
Did we ever see the
dress
bathroom?
set. This is Buffy's bedroom.
First of all, this is my room. Second, you've been going through my things?
Yes, I have.
Hi, Ted.
Personally, I love being in Buffy's bedroom, rummaging through all of her drawers. It gave me a kind of little extra stepfather kind of thrill. Had nothing to do with the script, but it's how I prepare, all right?
Okay, so it was not scripted,
This
huh?
is the one of the only remaining sets from season 1. I'm sure you know it well.
Yup.
Here's the windows that obviously Buffy goes in and out of quite frequently, or somebody else comes in and out of quite frequently as well. We change posters every once in a while, but we try to keep it intact almost from first season so that we really have a continuity. It's the only thing that's sort of
The plan.
Buffy's house is her bed, or in Buffy's life is her bedroom, really. Well, here we are in Giles's apartment. All the walls
I thought
pull
they
away.
had a house. So bizarre.
At this beam here, all the walls above it are just sort of hung with cable, so we can pull the lower 8 feet out, pretty much
This
all the way
is
around. In this set, the staircase does
A
not pull
big
out.
apartment.
It's always stationary. But from the
Looks like a
staircase all
house,
the
not
way
an
around
apartment.
to this corner and into this archway is pullable. We can wild it out and get a camera back there and shoot into the set. This is Giles's little kitchen around the corner here. Go into the hallway through this little arch.
I'm like leaning forward as if I
Giles
can
plays
lean
quite a
into
bit
the set.
back here in this kitchen.
So we bronzing it tonight?
Wednesdays kind of beat.
The Bronze was meant to sort of feel like a nightclub, but really was an espresso bar.
For
It was an
stu-
industrial space that had been converted into a, this nightclub coffee bar.
For students.
Visually, it was painted with quite a few bright colors, as if an artist had come in and just sort of not
Left
just painted the
dashes,
walls,
yeah.
but was actually as if they were painting a canvas. It has an entrance that leads out actually off the side of one of our stages, and then when we developed the back lot in second season, across the alley, we built a whole series of facades of brick and little buildings that created this dark alleyway where lots of scenes sort of took place, not just outside the Bronze, but just a little dark alleyway that we would dress differently to make it some other little alley off in Sunnydale somewhere.
Don't just stand there. Dig. We have to hurry.
Oh yeah.
Joss had always discussed the idea of somehow trying to do a graveyard here on the lot, and then I was just walking around in the parking lot one day and kind of realized that if we had sort of focused our direction the other way, looking off our lot, there was, you know, the whole vista of trees. So I came up with this idea to put a big stone wall in front of that, sort of blocking out the buildings that were underneath all those trees in the vista, and just making it feel like a wall of the cemetery. And it gave me this huge depth.
So they just took an actual cemetery. They're like, this is ours now.
Of space, and made you feel like you were in a big greened area. We built some large mausoleums and things on the backside. And then within that space, in the greened areas, we actually dug out some pits that were grave sites. So it was a nice idea to be able to have lots of elements of, you know, vampires coming out of graves. Or
I thought it was like a small cemetery, and then they just kind of like dug things for the show. I was like, that's kind of bizarre, just using a cemetery, an actual cemetery, but no.
Actually lowering a coffin down into the ground and being able to do all that right here.
Carrie is just really creative and does a tremendous amount with what we have.
Even though we try to keep some sort of reality base to it, you know, we're dealing with vampires.
Yeah, there's only so much, you know? Sorry. Oh, I couldn't. This is all the sets. Well, this has been really interesting. I can't wait for the interviews. Yeah, there's like 1 minute left, so. Don't have a hand anymore. Oh, sorry. Ah. Well, that was that. For the extras, other than this, because this it's like I'm like throwing information. I don't really have much to react to. But I hope you still liked it. I had a great time. Thank you, Palisade, for doing this. My mod for me. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did not approve, if it's you, leave a like, comment, please follow below, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.